Hey, welcome to Pull My Focus Adventures in the World of Digital Filmmaking, where we bring you inside tips to make great digital video. I'm going to do a quick color correction thing for beginners. Now, if you are a member of our channel, you've seen a few of our color correction tutorials. I've done very extensive color correction tutorials here on the channel, but you want to get fast, you want to get quick, you just want to get in and out really fast. Here's 3 important things I'm going to tell you about color correction to get you started quickly. Number 1, let's get in here. Number 1, here's my footage, I'm going to use this, is I'm going to set my white balance, okay? Now, sometimes you forget to use one of these things, right? Where you shoot and you either have a slate that has white and gray on it, or you use one of these cool cards. If you don't have that, then you kind of got to look at your image and say, okay, what's supposed to be white in here? All right. Premiere has this great, under basic correction, it's got this little white balance. This guy right here, this is a little white balance auto thing. And I'm gonna look at my image. I'm looking at my image right now and I'm like, okay, what in the world is white in here? And I'm gonna target that thing and choose that as white. So I'm looking at Aries blouse. Okay, so let's say that's white. So I'm gonna take this pick box and I'm gonna boop, and notice it cooled the image a little more, okay? So we got this here has been set, all right? We've got our temperature and our tint has been altered. The image is a little cooler. I'm gonna go with that for now. Now, if there are other shots in the video that do have a slate, that do have a white or gray card, use that. Otherwise, this is your master now. Okay, so that's all I can tell you. Find something that's white and white balance it. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at skin tones. Very important. If you have people in the shot, it's very important that they look correct. And sometimes the camera can change things a little bit. So I'm gonna take, this is an easy way to do skin tone checking. Notice I am in my, if I go to Windows Workspaces, I'm in my color workspace right now, which allows me to see my scopes. And if this is something new to you, go to Workspaces and look at color, and Premiere has preset this for you to have your scopes. You've got a Luma waveform, you've got a vector scope, and you've got a RGB parade. We're gonna focus more on the Luma waveform and the vector scope to do our skin tone. Actually, we're gonna use just a vector scope to do our skin tone. So we're gonna set an opacity mask on someone's skin, and let's do that. Let's do this guy right here because there's a lot of skin there we can use. And we're just gonna do that. Notice everything else is gone. Now, if I look at my scopes, I have the vector scope right here. Look at that. And the vector scope is showing us that it's close, but I would prefer it to be on the line. And this is the skin tone line. I think we talked about that before. We'll leave a link in the description for the skin tone tutorial, all right? So in order for me to do that, I'm gonna come over to my color, my lumetri controls, and I'm gonna go to curves, and then I'm gonna come down to hue versus hue. And I've done an entire video on curves. Leave a link in the description. But if I grab this line and I move it up and down, notice that the vector scope, the line of the skin is moving up and down, up and down. I only have to move it a hair to get it up to this. So that this right here is, if we make it really big, right on the line. So now we're right on the line. So if we remove, we come back to our effect controls and remove that opacity mask. That opacity mask allowed us to pinpoint the skin. Then we will see a better skin tone, or actually a correct skin tone. And you don't have to go and do everybody in the picture because everyone is human and they all have blood. So everyone's pretty much clear. There are some slight variances between people with darker skin and people with lighter skin, but this is a general shot, okay? Just so you guys can get started. So, make sure, just make sure everybody looks good and everybody will look good. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, please consider giving us a like and also subscribe to the channel so you can see more of these great videos. Plus, we have a Patreon account, patreon.com/pullmyfocus. That'll give us even more support. We will love you. We love you for doing that. Thank you. All right, back to the video. And the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check my I'm going to check my black levels. Okay. So S-log or C-log sometimes comes in. It's the dynamic range is a little weird, and the blacks are pushed way up above 0 on the Luma scale. If we come back into our Luma scopes, and if you look at this, you can see here. I'll zoom in over here and show you. Here's the 0, and here's the first bit of information. There's a lot of space between those two, so you want to bring some of that back down to 0, which gets our dynamic range more close in line. So I'm going to grab this bottom. Oh, actually, here's a tip. First thing you can do is get rid of the color information because we don't need it right now. So I'm going to go to basic correction, and I'm going to go to creative correction, and we're going to go saturation, boom, 0. Kill the color. That lets us see our contrast a little better. Go back to curves, and now I'm going to grab this bottom curve. Now remember, notice I'm clicked on this one. This is for RGB. This is for red, green, blue individual, but this is for the Luma. This is for the Luma level, and I'm going to drag this down. Now notice over here, the scale, the waveform is coming down to 0, coming down to 0. Now, some people like to crush blacks. It's called crushing the blacks to bring the black level below 0. I don't particularly like to do that because if I look at this composition, there's nothing really black except for his hat. His hat is really black. All right, so that means I'm going to make it so that his hat looks nice and dark, but not ridiculously dark. And that pretty much hovers the entire waveform above the 0. So now if we looked at, it's closer to 0, and we've gotten some beautiful contrast already. All right, this is looking rich. It's looking like it's got depth. One other thing you could do is you can split this line in the middle and then grab one of these and start to tweak it up. And that gives us a nice little S curve, which squeezes out a little bit more contrast there. Now, watch this. When we turn the saturation back up, there's going to be color that you didn't even notice was there. All right, saturation, I'm going to double click it. Boom. It's almost as if we messed with the color, but we didn't. We just messed with the contrast and the depth of the shot. So it's already there. So those are the 3 things that I'm going to look at when I start my color correction process. The first one is white balance. The second one is skin tone. And the third one is black levels. And you can mix those around. You can start with the black levels. You can start with the skin tone. But generally speaking, those for me are going to be my go-to to correct the shot, to make it look good, and to get started. There's lots of other things you can do with this shot. You can go to town, but make sure that if this is the shot, one thing you should do is if you have a composition of a bunch of shots, pick one shot that looks absolutely beautiful. That's like your master shot. Color correct the crap out of that, and then make all the other shots match that shot. All right? Well, that was your quick tip for color correction. I hope it was short. I don't know. I get a little verbose sometimes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.